Gentlemen, we're back with episode 20 of the Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. Again, we're back and I brought another heavy hitter. You may have seen her photos. You may have experienced her branding. She's going to tell you everything about it. So tonight we have Leslie Gomez of LMG Photography. As you saw in the previews and advertisements, she's going to talk about how to brand your business with intention. A lot of people talk about branding, but the key word is intention. Just because you put a bunch of colors and pictures and everything together, it does not mean it's intentional. If you want the best results, she's going to tell you tonight how to do it. So just like I said, I'll start every single episode, I'll tell you my interaction, how I met Leslie. So believe it or not, Leslie, doing photography, I've seen her work all the time. And a lot of people that I know that's coming up and different people I meet in encounters, they're new to photography. I never told you this, Leslie, but you are the standard that people would say, oh, I got to get my photos like Leslie Gomez. I got to get my photos. So salute to you, because all the aspiring photographers, even I have one that's been with me about 4 years. He's 15, about 18 now. He even said, I got to meet her. And one day, I think you actually he met you and he was just blown away. I actually met Leslie. So you are an icon in our area. So I'm gonna give you your flowers first. So I met her through just interaction. I believe we talked originally about a website. I know you were in the process of doing a website, and then we started to do a little business with each other. I know we've gained a great relationship with each other. So I know if you have a client that needs something, and vice versa, we send them back and forth to each other. And then we circled around and became hand-in-hand partners on a 224 project. So 224 project, that was a 3-year project that's still going on. And if you know the behind the scenes of certain projects, sometimes it's always great to have someone that you can speak in confidence with about things that seem a little crazy, because a lot of times in business and as an entrepreneur, things can go crazy and you always need someone to lean on and share experiences with. So doing the different projects with her, even she's going to talk about one. We have a brand new client, a shared client that we're launching and putting together. Got more people, sorry. More people. So we have a shared client that we have that's launching their website. We were talking behind the scenes that this website with this particular client, which we'll share, is 2 years in the making. 2 years. So it shows the power of being an entrepreneur and getting things right. So I knew she needed some help, so I referred her to Leslie. And then once Leslie was done with her branding and everything, with her expertise, she sent her back ready to go, and we're going to launch this site. So without further ado, this is episode 20, How to Brand Your Business with Intention, starring Leslie Gomez. Leslie, thank you for coming into the Entrepreneur Network. The floor is yours.
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Quentin. And I'm kind of flattered about all the things you kind of said. But thank you for having me tonight. And I am so excited to be in the building, because this is branding and photography is like a passion of mine. I call it my ministry because I really love it. And I really like to bring things out of people that they don't see, and that they can take with them on their entrepreneurial journey. So let me just kind of reintroduce myself. Again, my name is Leslie Gomez. I am a brand photographer, award-winning photographer, a brand strategist, I call myself, and a best-selling author. So thank you for joining me tonight. I want to talk about, one, the power of branding, and two, branding with intention. Branding with intention is so much more powerful than just creating a brand that might look cookie cutter, or that you might want to kind of resemble someone else, right? When you're branding, it's okay to be inspired by others, but you really have to find that thing that makes you stand out as an individual business or entity, right? And I say this because the market is so crowded, right? It's so crowded with coaches, therapists, entrepreneurs, and things that others might do that you do as well. So how do you stand out, right? How do you stand out from this crowded market? And I will tell you that the thing that makes you stand out is already within you. It's already within you. You already do it. You just need to tap in to it. And sometimes we tend to overlook it because we're actually naturally doing it. So I want to kind of take you on a little journey. Okay. So the first thing I want to tell you about when you're branding with intention, that the brand is not just your logo, and it's not just your website, and it's not just your color scheme. It actually is you. Everything that makes you up as a person, right? So your achievements, your education, your adversities that happened in the past that created you, everything, every little thing that makes you up as a person, your needs, your wants, your strengths, your weaknesses, all of that is encompassed in your brand. And sometimes we get lost, right? We don't know what our brand is, but you have to start paying attention to yourself. And when you start to pay attention to yourself, you could start to be intentional about the brand that you create for yourself. Is everyone following me so far? Let me just dive in the chat real quick and see what's going on in there. Right. So it's getting to know who you are as a person. It's tapping in to who you are as a person. And once you get to know yourself, it is so easy to be authentic, and it's so easy to be intentional, right? Because I'll say everyone can see through plastic. It gets tiresome you get tired of being something that you're not when you are trying to be someone else or mimic someone else's brand. It gets tiring, right? And then eventually you are going to come through. And what you don't want to happen is people to view you as a fraud or an imposter. So, excuse me here. So the brand is you. It has nothing to do with your website. Has nothing to do with your logo. It has nothing to do with your color scheme. But what everybody is going to see initially and gravitate to and connect to is you. Now, every brand has a story. And I remember when I was starting out as an entrepreneur and tapping into this branding space, I was confused about the brand story, right? And your brand story is pretty much you telling your audience about, I'm sorry, I got a little technical difficulty going back behind the scenes here. Hold on one second. Is you telling the world about your business, who you are, what you do, who you do it for, and what they call your value proposition. And what your value proposition is the thing that makes you different from others in your field. So if you had to say, if I asked you, why should I choose you as a brand or business? What would be some of the answers that you would be able to tell me to help distinguish who you are? Someone be brave enough and go in the chat and kind of tell me if you had to say what you do, who you do it for, what would be the thing that would differentiate you from everybody else that is in your market or your field. Anyone wants to be brave? Well, I'll tell you about myself. So as you know that Connecticut has a lot of photographers, right? And I feel like the way I stand out is by ways of my, how I make myself visible, right? So there may be a photographer that does the same thing that I do. They might even do it better than I do, but no one knows about them because they are not as visible as I am, and how I would say I have my own creative way of being visible to the people that I want to serve. So I will say that that is one differentiation that I can say about myself. And the second thing that I could say that differentiates me from another photographer is that I'm a one-stop shop, right? So you could come to me, you could get your brand coaching, you could get your brand photography. We can do the whole kit and caboodle with video strategy and all those things, but there aren't other photographers in my area that may do the same kind of work or provide the same kind of services. So what I had to do, and what you should be doing also, is taking a look at your competitors, because that is a way how you can make your brand stand out and make your brand visible. Checking out your competitors and seeing what are they not doing that you or your business has the skill to do. Secondly, another way that I stand out is because I have a specific customer base, right? I don't typically work with families unless it's like the holiday time, but my niche is more entrepreneurs and professionals. And when you work with other photographers, you might find that they are, they work with several kind of types of photography, whether it's maternity, family, holiday, weddings, engagement. I pretty much have a market, a niche that I am intentional about serving, that I am intentional about learning about, and that helps me to stand out as well. Any questions for me right now? Oh,
So you
okay.
have a
Let's
couple
go in.
people
Let's go in the
responding.
chat.
Yep, you have a couple people. To be your first question, you asked them.
Oh, okay. Quentin, the fact that I care about them beyond their business. Yes, Quentin. Going that extra mile, right? Nadine Mahoney, I not only want to have a Black-owned brand, but one that gives back to the community. And that should be in your messaging, right? When we talk about attracting and being intentional about our customers, that is something that is very important to a group of people, right? Not only being Black-owned, but giving back to your community. So that should be shared in your messaging somewhere. When we talk about brand messaging and brand story, that's a part of your story. That's a part of your brand messaging. I'm a biology major in the medical field, and my products are 100% unique plant-based products for moms and kids to manage their curls. That's what makes me unique. And I hope you're pushing that uniqueness, right? You're pushing that my products are 100% unique and plant-based. Nadine, that may not be your total brand message, but it needs to be a part of your brand message. To let them know that I'm about my community. I'm Black-owned, support my business. And I don't know what else that your business does, but I am gung-ho about my community. Right. And back to the plant-based products, you need to be thinking about, I'm gonna give you a couple nuggets. So if you in the chat and you say something, I'm gonna probably support you with some nuggets that can help you, one, reach the right kind of customer, which is when I say you have to be intentional about what the customer is, who the customer is, so that you can attract them. So you can't be talking to everybody. You are very specific about moms and kids to manage their curls that makes them unique. But what kind of moms are going to be looking for this products, right? It's usually moms that are about health and wellness, right? So I want you to start to think about my iPhone user. You don't really have a name on there, but where am I going to find these healthy moms, right? Hoping that you already have I forget what they call it because I have a brain fart right now, but a customer profile. I hope you have a customer profile that kind of talks to your moms. How old are your moms? And where can you find your moms on these platforms that we're using so that you can become visible and talk to them about the problems that I'm really giving y'all a lot of game right now. Start talking about the problems that these moms are having so that they can be drawn in to your product, if that makes sense. So if it makes sense, drop a heart in the chat. Diamonds, more diamonds, hearts. Yes, 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 yes. So let me just rewind a little bit so we could kind of make things make sense. So when you have discovered who you are as a person, right? Knowing your weaknesses, knowing your strengths, right? And I talk about these two because sometimes when we have a weakness, we can either decide whether we want it to stay a weakness or we want to make that weakness a strength. So it is important that you do these self-evaluations frequently, right? So every 6 months, looking at yourself as a person, a whole person, because it's your stories and you that you are going to connect with your audience. Your personality, what you have to offer, your expertise, and sometimes some personal stories, right? Some personal stories that you have to tell in order to create these connections with your audience and your clients. Any questions? I also want to touch base on when we talk about being intentional about our customer and our customer base. I touched briefly about niching down and not talking to everybody. It's so important to niche down your customer base. So the person who was talking about their plant-based products, right? You really have to get specific to your customer, getting to know them in and out, how they buy, right? That's very important because you're going to have to curate your message, your system around how they buy products. And let me give you an example. So if your client, for example, is between the age of 40 and 55 years old, you need to kind of get to know how they buy. Are they looking at testimonials before they buy? Are they just good with word of mouth? Really just getting down to the nitty-gritty, knowing the problems that they're experiencing, because that needs to be in your social media, your emails, all the things that you are looking to reach that specific client. And not only that, but being in the right space, right? Being where your customers are. So for instance, if your customers are 40 and 55 years old, and we're talking about social media platforms, we're talking about Facebook, we're talking about Instagram, we're talking about LinkedIn, we're talking about now Threads, which is, I know, is a new platform. But if you had to say your client was 40 to 55 years old, where are you most likely to find those clients? Someone give me the answer in the chat. Absolutely. That would be one of my first places to go. And if they were from a professional or entrepreneurial base, I would probably consider LinkedIn as well. Good job, y'all. It's important to create this client profile. And I'm not going to dig into a client profile tonight, but that's important to have, because that's going to help to get to know who your ideal client is and be able to reach them. Also, what's important is being intentional what you put on your websites. So if you're intentional about your client, you need to be intentional about the content that you put on your websites and social media, and determine how your content is geared, right? How is it going to attract your clients? Let me just rewind that also. Evaluating your website and your social media to determine if your content is geared toward the needs of your ideal customer. So the key word here is the needs of your customer. It has nothing to do with you. And sometimes we put us, even though we're the brand, in the mix of things, when it has really nothing to do with you. It has all to do with your customer and your customer base, and et cetera. And we talked about determining what social media platforms you should be targeting. Know your customer, know where they reside, know where they are, know if they're podcasters, know if they're bloggers, know if they are not people that have social media platforms, and how can you connect with them in those spaces. Also, effectively market to your target audience in a way where it's meaningful to them, not you, not where it's comfortable for you, but where it's meaningful to your customer. You have to remove yourself from being intentional about the customer and focusing all of everything on your customer. Does that make sense?
So Leslie, I have one question for you before we move to the next point.
Mhm.
So one person in the chat, they said, in terms of branding, what are the non-negotiables that everyone watching should have in place? So what are those things that you can't live without?
That you can't live without?
Yep, that they need.
I would say your messaging and your story, because initially people are raving about a website, and sometimes you can make a ton of money without, no shade on Quentin, but initially when you are creating a brand, you don't initially have to have a website, but you should at some point. But your brand messaging, your brand story should be clear and consistent, because you'll always be able to attract customers in that manner. Then, once you clear on the brand, Then you could start thinking about logos. You could start thinking about colors. You could start thinking about what kind of text you want to use. And also putting together a website, because why? You're so much more clear, right? You'll know what content to be putting on your website. You know what language that your client likes to hear and responds to. So I think what's non-negotiable is your brand messaging, your brand story, and getting to know your brand and being clear on your brand. Because once you're clear, the attention comes, right? So I'll give you an example per se. If you had a teacher in a classroom asking a specific question, and you have a person that is really not sure about the answer, right? You're most likely going to have a half hand raised, right? But if you have someone that knows the answer and they're clear, that's where the confidence come in, right? When you're clear and you know the answer, you're confident. So clarity breeds confidence. Clarity breeds confidence. And that person with the half hand raised, they may know the answer, but they're not clear, and they're not sure. So they're not going to be confident about answering the question. I hope that is a good example in saying and telling you about clarity and how you can be more intentional and confident in your brand once you're clear on it. Okay.
Perfect. Good to go.
Good to go. Okay. When you are intentional about your brand, you can be intentional about the connections you make. Whether you participate in discussions in forums or attend network events, you will be showing people that you are out there, you're interested, and you're engaged. And I hope I didn't confuse you when I said that. If you know your client, you know who you have to connect with. You are intentional in making those connections. You're intentional about going to the places where you need to make these connections. So we all know that there's networking events. Should you go to every network event? Or should you focus on going to networking events in which your clients or audience may be present? So that's why I say it's so important about being intentional about your connections. You'll save more time and you'll save more no's. Because if no one cares, if you are in a networking event where no one cares about what you do or your business, then it's a sort of a waste of time. This is a big one, especially for my Black females out there. Being visible. A lot of us have great products, we have great businesses, but we tend to hide behind our brand. Can anyone relate to that? When I say hide behind our brand, we're hiding behind the computer. No one knows who we are. No one knows what our voice sounds like. No one knows what we do, but we have these great products and great services. But we let fear stop us from being visible. We let what people will think about us determine how visible we are. But that visibility impacts how successful we are. I try to make it my business that I am everywhere. Everywhere my audience is, I'm everywhere. I could care less what anybody thinks. I could care less what anybody says. You could keep on scrolling. If I'm not for you, you can keep on walking, scrolling, or whatever. But there are people out there that need my help. And they need to know that I have this product or I have this service that is able to help them go be successful in their business, be visible in their business, and help them to have great images for their business. If I kept that all to myself, no one would know about me. Now, who can say at some point in their entrepreneurial journey, whether it's now or in the past, have struggled with being visible? Oh, I'm the face of my brand, but it's exhausting as I understand that. I understand that. And I can relate to that so much. We sometimes feel like, because I am also the face of my brand, right? And sometimes I'm like, they gotta be sick of seeing my face all over the place. They gotta be sick. I do. But I want you to get out your head. We all tend to get out of our head because there's someone that hasn't seen you before, or we know that eventually that we get new people on our profiles, we get new people on our social media networks that haven't seen us. And just know, if they tired of seeing you, they'll unfollow or delete. So your job is to, one, when you get that thought of, oh my God, they're tired of hearing my voice, they're tired of seeing my face, or they're tired of me saying the same thing over and over and over again. Get out your head. Because even when I am saying the same thing over and over and over again, and I see people out on the street that don't make themselves visible on my profile, like they may not click like, or they may not leave a comment, and it might be a person that I don't even know, and I'll see them out in public and they'll be like, hey, I've seen you on Facebook and your lives are great. And, so not everybody is so face forward on commenting on your stats or hitting the like button or hitting the heart button, but there are people watching you. Even when you do that live and no one is on it, trust and believe they're going to go back and watch it. They're going to go back and watch it. So anything that you have to say it. There is someone that needs to hear what you have to say. There's someone out there that needs your product. There is someone that you can stop from making a bad decision that is feeling the same way that you are. Believe me, when I tell you, I have people to say, I'll put up a post because I'm very good about, or I love motivating and empowering people, and I'll have those social posts go up and someone will hit me in my DM and be like, I needed that today. I needed that today. So stop thinking that. I want you to get out your head. Get out your own way, because that is what holds us back from moving forward, is being in our own way. Let me see. I got a couple messages down. I noticed I don't like speaking on social media. It's not about being comfortable and liking it. You grow when you're uncomfortable. When you're in an uncomfortable space, that's where you go. Grow. That's where you're stretched, is when you're in that, you're doing something that feels different. And if it scares you, that means you're on that right path, because comfort is not going to get you very far. So if you don't like it, but you know that you need to do it in order for to propel your business and propel your brand, you still need to do it. I tell you, even today, I've done many of lives, and every time I get ready to do a live, I still have a little fear in my stomach. Like, what if I mess up? I still get that thought. But even though I get that thought, I still do it anyway, because that's just me in my head. Half of the time, people aren't even paying attention to whether you mess up or not. They're more engaged on the content that you're delivering, especially if they're very connected to whatever you're doing or selling. So I just want y'all to, I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. I got to look who's on this list here, because I'm going to start following you, some of these people. But I'm going to challenge you to even I'm going to challenge you to if you're not going live, I'm going to challenge you to even post at least twice a week. And I don't want you to post just to post. I want you to post to either educate your audience on whatever you have or selling or your service or anything, but also to create some kind of engagement. So even if it's not educational, but there is something that you know that your audience likes and will create engagement on your social media, I want you to start posting that at least twice a week. Let's say Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday, Friday, even if it's a motivation. But education and engagement and motivation, those three things, or three topics, or three pillars of content are will help you to connect with your audience. But in the meantime, you have to be your authentic self. Because that's why people like you initially, is because of who you are. I'll do a photo before I'll do a video and speak. Hey, baby steps. Baby step. But I don't want you to get comfortable being comfortable. I want you to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So if you feel scared doing it, you're in an uncomfortable space, and it's going to allow you to stretch yourself and grow and get comfortable. Then once you get comfortable with that, there's going to be another layer that you're going to need to be uncomfortable with. That's just the way the cycle goes. Go live. Diane, go live. You're inspired. God gave you all this experience. He gave you all this things that you overcome, all these challenges, and you want to keep it to yourself. I will tell you, the richest place is the graveyard. And I say this because people die with talents that they've never shared with anyone. And God has given you giving you the tools, the experience, the strength, and all of that. And you want to keep it to yourself? How effective and impactful is that? If you're here to have your business create impact, then you have to start sharing. You have to start using those gifts that you have, whether it's drawing, whether it's singing, whether it's selling natural products, whatever it is. You need to be sharing it, because if you don't make yourself visible, you could have 1 billion creations in the pipeline coming up, but those creations aren't going to mean anything if you're not making yourself visible to make people know that you have this available. Yeah, I want to see how many people are going to accept this challenge. Because a part of building your brand is showing up as an expert in your field. And when you show up as an expert, that's when your trust is built, right? Just think about some of the people you follow and are inspired by. They are sharing some kind of expertise in whatever. And that's how people start to trust you. But you got to show up. You have to show up. Less than a year ago, speaking online was terrifying. Now it excites me to share my story and message with whoever is watching. If I did it scared, you can too. Thank you. Thank you, Tasha. So that's 2 people. I was devastated about going live. I used to read my stuff. Sometimes I still do. I'm be transparent. Sometimes I do write myself down some notes so I won't go off. And it's okay to do that. You don't have to be perfect. And that's another thing that holds you guys back from propelling forward, is feeling like everything has to be perfect. It doesn't. You just have to start. You just have to put yourself out there, and you just have to start. Everything else, you're going to build on everything else. I built my first website. It's still operating, but I kept on, doing piece by piece by piece. Guess what? People still bought from me. People still hired me. It's not perfect, but it did what it needed to do. But y'all should hire Quentin though, because he's bomb at the website. But I'm just saying, if you are in that position, to hire someone to do your website or do whatever it is, I've come to a point in my my career where now, if I don't like to do something, or I go to the people that are great at it and I pay them to do what I need them to do. So let me just do a simple recap right here about branding with intention. That word intention is so important and so deep. The intention is going to bring out the confidence. The intention is going to bring out the authenticity. And the intention is just going to make it easier for you. Being intentional and narrowing things down. And when I say narrowing your audience down, narrowing your customer down, because what happens is when you narrow your customer down, that specific group of people, they experience the same problems. So your content is going to be generated around those specific problems that specific group of people is experiences, versus selling to the 18-year-old and the 45-year-old, just for hypothetically speaking. Those two group of people, they learn differently, they buy differently. So guess what? You're going to water down your brand. You're going to water down your content when you are like this, selling to everybody. But when you narrow it down, there's specific problems for specific people. Okay? So be intentional about learning about yourself, because you are the total brand. Being intentional about who you want to serve and how you attract them, and how being intentional is going to help you attract them. Being intentional about your connections, making sure y'all collaborate. Don't be afraid to collaborate, because that's going to expand your brand visibility, right? And be intentional about being visible on your specific platforms. So that's all I have today, y'all.
Listen, another one. So anyone have any questions in the chat? If you have any questions, you can unmute yourself in a little bit. I got a couple questions. So Leslie, as I told you, I had a couple questions. I throw them all out, rip them up. So I want to start the hashtag. The hashtag. So when people go live, or they have to tag you in it because it's part of accountability as an entrepreneur. So tag Leslie Gomez on all platforms. I am Leslie. She'll tell you that at the end. But I have a couple questions. So one question: can you share with us one successful story? You have a lot, but what's your favorite or your most successful story as far as branding with everyone?
Can I do two? I
You
got
too.
two. I
You
got
too.
two. So I have a one specific client that I've worked with for over 2 years. And when she came to me, she didn't have a cohesive brand, right? So she was kind of like all over the place. She know what she wanted to have or what she wanted her brand to look like, but she didn't have anybody to really kind of help her put it together. And from now until, from 2 years ago until now, her brand has become so powerful. Her name is Sorbel Martinez, that people see her everywhere. It's just a powerful, impactful brand. And when I tell you she's intentional about everything down to I didn't say that your colors don't have to be intentional, but it does when we're talking about customer and audience and everything. But she's blown up. Like, I'm talking about, she's getting TV shows offers. She's getting these huge speaking engagement because of how she shows up and high quality her brand is, and her just backing up her brand. And my second one is a client that Quentin and I work together now, that's dropping her website on what is it, Quentin?
Friday. 2 years in the making. Friday, she's coming up.
I worked with, I'm going to say her name, Kanisha Fluin. I've worked with her for 2 years, and we did brand coaching together, and we did her photography, and we just wrapped up her video for her brand. I will say it took her 2 years because her brand evolved. And as she became more clear on what she wanted to do, now it just makes sense with a boom. Like, her social media is like, her YouTube channel and her social media is like out of this world.
Everything's taken off her. Yep.
So I want to say this: when it comes to your brand, do not play around with it. Because if it shows up as high quality, guess what kind of clients you're going to get? High quality clients that's going to pay that high quality price tag.
That's true.
The way you show up, if you show up janky, guess what you're going to get? Janky people trying to janky your price and your products. So it's important to have high quality images and consult with people that can, if you can't get your vision out on paper or on your website or whatever it is, you need to consult with the people that can do the work for you. And that's called investment. It might be pricey, but think about the return of investment that you're going to get from making that one investment.
And the last question, because until you run up on time, the last question is, can you give everyone a quick, what's the initiation process when you're working with them as far as, so if anyone interested in coming aboard, working with you, how does that work? What's the process that you go through at the beginning, the initial stages?
So the initial station is just one, reaching out. So you can reach out. I have two websites, but I'm going to give you the one that, www.IamLeslieGomez.com. Reach out. And if you want to start with small as like a strategy session, you just don't know how to get to from point A to point B in your brand or your business, then you can reach out to me. And then, I have other things that might be useful to you. And once you reach out, we can book consultation, and then we can see which one of my products are great for you, depending on what you're doing.
Perfect. Is anyone in the chat have any questions? So I'll open it up to the floor. You can raise your hand, anything. A lot of great things. Don't forget hashtag Leslie Gomez. We're gonna hashtag you. We're gonna create a hashtag with you. Any other questions? So you have some other comments. So if there's no comments or questions, can you tell everybody again, how can they get in contact with you? So what's the best places?
The best places you can get, you can get in touch with me is www.iamlesliegomez.com, or you can hit me on my Instagram at I am_Leslie Gomez, and hit me on Facebook at just Leslie Gomez.
Perfect. And then last but not least, the best place to find her, and share my screen, because we're all in a Nothing But Web Entrepreneur Network. So if you're not a member yet, join. Why not? So when you come here, all you have to do is come in, sign up, make a profile. If you go to members, you'll be able to find Leslie. If you scroll through here, as you can see, our member base continue to grow. We're closing in on 125 now. So we have 125 different entrepreneurs that are in here that you can reach out. You can follow them, send them a direct message, any way you want to get in contact with them, you can. Leslie, I'm going to talk to you too about possibly doing a session inside the platform as well. So those that want to follow up and something just to get their feet wet, we're working with services with you. We'll kind of work out something for there.
Sure. I was just going to offer, and I don't know if this is okay. If it's not, it's not. But if you're on this call tonight or within this network, I am going to offer you a discounted 90-minute strategy session at $297. So you'll be saving about $150 for that 90-minute session. If you want to just kind of work on some things that you don't know how to get to, and that's it.
There you go. So exclusive. And I'll send you a list of everybody in here to let you know if they were in here or not.